Hey, welcome back to At Babe and Library. It's your girl Lisa, and I am finally getting into the mood of like preparing for 2023. And I'm coming to you because I need accountability partners. One, I need an accountability partner in working out. You also go to the gym, so I need an accountability partner there. But what I need you to hold me accountable for are reading 23 books in 2023. I've already got 12 from the Instagram, the 12 for 12 challenge. And so I'll be discussing that, as well as I've got 6 books to carry over from this year's challenge, which I didn't do a video on. So we'll first cover what I got through and what I didn't get through that's going to roll over until 2023. So first before I started my channel, I had written down a list of 12 books that were on my physical bookshelf that I needed to read. I knocked out 50% of it. Now, in the grand scheme, that means I've only read 6 on my bookshelf, and I've actually read like 114 books this year. So your girl was prioritizing the wrong things. So first book that I should have gotten to this year that I didn't, which I should be ashamed of, is Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson. Look how it is so small. And I've actually picked this up like 3 times. I read it like a few pages and I thought the writing is stunning. I'm going to love this. This will be 5 stars. So I'm going to do a 5-star recommendation video. And this will be read in 2023 because there's really no reason I haven't gotten to it. Look at it. Beautiful. On the list moving forward to 2023. This is a story about 2 characters meet one night on the town, and the female main character gets with the main male character's best friend, and they're pining for each other. Let's see how that plays out. So 2023 rollover. Another book that's going to be on a 2023 rollover that I didn't get to this year but was on my list is When Sparks Fly by Helena Hunting. I've never read a Helena Hunting book, and I actually won this as a Goodreads giveaway. And so this is an ARC copy, and this is Best Friends to Lover, which I am starting to fall in love with. Now, this was a stellar opening for me. So this is probably one of the first books I read in 2022 and absolutely loved. That's Zinni by Rebecca Weatherspoon. So this is the first one I can kind of knock off my list. It's very colorful. My tabs are very colorful, but absolutely adored this. This is Marriage of Convenience between Zinni and Mason. And this talks about just dealing with grief and how you reconcile with the people in your life that you know versus, or what you believe you know about them versus who they are. And just explores these 2 individuals falling in love. It was all at the plot or ploy of one woman. So love this. I believe I gave it 5 stars. This next one is another Goodreads giveaway win that I should be ashamed of myself for not reading. I know a lot of people actually don't love it. It's an older backlist, but I have been getting into Tessa Bailey quite a bit. There's some hits from her, such as It Happened One Summer, and there's some misses, like, may not be for me, but I am hopeful about this Love Her or Lose Her. I won this in a giveaway back in 2020, and I haven't read it. Like I said, I know this was probably one of her first kind of popular series that was floating around on in the book community, but I haven't gotten a chance to read it, and I'm interested to see my own personal take on it. So this is something that's going to roll over in 2023. If I don't love it, it's one less thing that's going to be on my bookshelf, but I'm hopeful that Tessa Bailey will do me right with this one. This is A Marriage in Trouble, romance. Another book that has been having its resurgence, which is kind of why I picked it up. So this is one I did actually get a chance to read, and that's Ice Planet Barbarians book 1 in the IPB saga, right? I think it's like 21 books at this point, but I actually gave this 4 stars, or 3 stars, 3 or 4 stars. I really did enjoy this as a kickoff. This is a alien romance. This is a marriage of survival. This is opposite attracts, literally 2 different species. Again, alien romance. This is about Georgie, who is basically the leader of her woman coven after being dropped off in a faraway ice planet, and her meeting the chief tribe member Vectel, and Vectel having, I'll say it's a breeding kink, because they don't have enough women in their planet to be able to procreate and survive. Now, in relation to a book that I was hopeful, I have a couple of books that have been on my bookshelf since my undergrad, which was over 10 years ago. And this was me trying to challenge myself for my nonfiction reads, which I've been knocking out of the park. However, I just couldn't get around to picking this up because it is a chunky textbook. So this is Black Sexual Politics, and this is by Patricia Hill Collins. I just haven't felt moved or spirited to pick this up. Maybe if I continue in my nonfiction reads in 2023, I will get a chance to get around to this. But unfortunately, this is one that may have to carry over if I'm feeling the need. Another one, again, I said 50%, right? Sounds good to me, but in reality, as I'm going through, I'm like, oh, didn't read that. Same goes for this YA fantasy novel, which is A River of Royal Blood, and that's by Amanda Joy. This is still something that I want to get to, even though I've been kind of teetering and tottering the line of whether I'll continue YA, but Tracy Dion and BB Austin kind of keep me enraptured, and I'm hoping Amanda Joy can do the same. This is a story about 2 sisters fighting for, I guess, the ability to contain their power, their magic wielding. Only one sister can retain the power of magic, and I think it comes down to the death. So don't really love that for them. Don't want to have 2 sisters competing, but I do want to see how it goes down. So this is going to roll over in 2023. Please keep me accountable, because I have been wanting to pick this up. It's just other things kind of bubble up on the surface. Read It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Again, this is a book that needs no introduction. It has made its resurgence probably 20 times over, so much so that Colleen actually decided to put in and create her sequel, which never was supposed to see the light of day. And it's been 10 years, so obviously this has big hype in the community, so I won't really talk too much about it. I did not rate this, not because I didn't love it. I just was pretty much spoiled because it's been out for so long. I think it was released in 2016. So I was spoiled on this book. Everything that happened, I was already pretty much aware, so I couldn't really rate it for that very reason. The next book that I have read was The Push by Ashley Ardrain. This is a debut novel, psychological thriller that kind of blew me out the water. Ashley did a stunning, phenomenal job. I surprisingly, if you look on Goodreads, I rated it a 2. And you're like, Lisa, you're boasting this up like it's the best thing sliced bread, but you gave it a 2. That is a more me problem. While I absolutely love this, I did not like how they played. It was playing on my intelligence, only for the resultant ending. So again, this is a me problem, not an Ashley problem or the Push problem, because it is really good, and I know a lot of people love it. I just have warring emotions, but I was so grateful to have read this. Again, you're like, that's contradictory. Let me mind my business. Next book that I read these are 2 nonfictions. The first one being Someone's Daughter, which is a memoir by Ashley C. Ford. I think this is probably the second. I think I read this in February, the second memoir I read for the year. tabbed it up pretty good. This was stunning. I had absolutely no clue who Ashley C. Ford was before picking up this book. Just seeing that everyone had amazing things to say about it and really promoted this book kind of led me to going into to read it, to market it, to talk about how she dealt with her relationship of not having a father because he's incarcerated. But I found that the story was less about that and more about the maternal relationships that they shared, which was a common theme from some of the non-fictions that I've read. But this was more about her relationship with the parent that she was left with, her mother, and what sort of turmoil and strife she, grew out of, and her relationship with her grandmother as well. So this was, again, 5-star read for me. One of the best memoirs that I read this year. And then to talk about the final book that I read before I talk about the last book that I carry over into 2023 from this list, but I read Becoming by Michelle Obama. This was the first memoir I picked up this year. Absolutely knew I had to get to this. This came out in 2019. And I said, I can't let Queen Michelle sit on my shelf anymore, looking at me, giving me that, baby, just read me. Look, this was a joy and a treat to be able to read, and I'm so glad that I finally got around to it. Now, as I transition into books that I will be reading in 2023, the final book that was in 2022 that I did not read is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I have not read this, and it's a shame on me. I thought it was going to be making its resurgence, so that's why I put it back. Because, again, everything on TikTok is pretty much just regurgitating the books that were out 10 and 15 years ago. So I'm like, okay, I've seen a couple people reading this. Maybe it's my chance and my chance to shine. Because a lot of people love Laini Taylor and love her lyrical writing. So I figured starting with a young adult fantasy would be the way to go. Yet, it didn't sell me enough to read this year, so this will be popping on my 2023 reads. So, that leaves 6 books that I'm carrying over from this year to next year. So, let's talk about the remaining books that are going to be on my list for 2023 that I've been challenged to read by some of my Bookstagram friends. So, the first book that I've been challenged to read is Bright Like Wildfires by Juliet Cross, which I'm not a small town romance girl. I think I've stated that in one video previously before. However, I am a Juliet Cross reader, so I think I'm going to have high hopes for loving this, and I am so glad that it was the first recommendation on my list, so I'll be knocking that out as soon as I possibly can. The second was a historical fiction, which I was very surprised because historical fiction doesn't typically come up with a lot of the people that I interact with on a regular basis, although I do dibble and dabble in it. So, I was excited to be able to see The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare, which is extremely popular on BookTube. So I was excited to get that as a recommendation. So I'll be picking that up. Another book is We Are Not From Here, and that's by Jenny Torres Sanchez. So that book, I believe, is an immigration young adult novel. So I am going to probably need to collect myself before I read it because I know it's going to be an impactful read. But one that needs to be read and shared by multiple folks. So hopefully I'll be able to do a review on the channel of that book. The next book that I have that was recommended to me is Sky Falling by Mia McKenzie. I had never seen anyone recommend this book or read this book, but I believe it's about a story of a lady who gave up her child for adoption. Years later, the child goes to find her, and the relationship she decides to either build with that child and how they tie into someone she is pursuing in a relationship-wise as of the day she meets her. So, sounds messy, but sounds utterly impactful and a great read. The next one is going to kind of jumpstart my kick into my Brittany Cherry reading vlog, which I will be doing in 2023 because I've got a number of her books on my backlist. And that's the mixtape. So I don't necessarily recall what the mixtape is about. So hopefully that just gives me a lot more surprise and intrigue when I read it. I believe Brittany C. Cherry is said to be an emotional writer, meaning that when you read her books, you have no choice but to be moved. So I love that for me. Always like something that is going to, you know, tug at the heartstrings. So the mixtape is definitely going to be high on my list, and I'll probably be reading more of her Element series by then. The next book is one that needs no introduction, but that's a Penn Douglas book. And if I say Penn Douglas, I'm interested to see, place it in the chat below. What do you think before I say it? What do you think is the book that was recommended to me? So if you had to guess a Penn Douglas book that you would recommend, what would it be? The book that was recommended to me is Birthday Girl, which has been on my Kindle Unlimited checkout for months now. So I'm glad someone suggested it to read because I'm going to get to it. I'll be able to dive right in, and maybe that'll lead to The Pool Boy from Nikki Sloan. So hopefully I can do 2 like pool romances because I can see by the cover that there's a little bit of intrigue. So, you know, maybe I'll do a video for those 2. You know, an older woman, younger man, and an older man, younger woman type of ordeal. The next book is actually one that I have on my shelf, and I already had a video. So coincidentally, it was fate for me to be able to read Easy by Tamara Weber. And this book came out in 2012, I want to say. And so it's been on my shelf for a while, but I was able to see Corey, one of my Bookstagram friends, read the sequel to this, and she recommended this book for me. And so I already have a video in mind for this. Very interested to see how it goes, see if this kind of stood the test of time, and whether it still holds up 10 years later. The next book that I have was purchased by a Bookstagram friend for me and was recommended. It's on everyone's booktube list that they've read and loved. It is hard-hitting dark romance, and that is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. This is a forbidden romance, dark romance. It is a sister's fiance romance. So this probably, again, needs no introduction. I will also be reading Muscles and Monsters by Ashley Bennett. I have been having this on my list, and I've had a little interaction with the author related to some of the giveaways that she's been doing, and she seems like such a sweet and amazing person. So I cannot wait to read Muscles and Monsters and hopefully get to Tentacles and Triathlons, because it just sounds like it's going to be juicy goodness that I'm going to eat up. Monster romance has never really been my thing, but the covers and the way that people are talking about it makes me want to pick it up and be a part of that wave. And then the last book is going to be Real by Kennedy Ryan. Currently reading Before I Let Go, and I just read a flashback chapter, and that hit me, and I already knew Kennedy Ryan was going to be an author that I needed to read, because I've got so much of her backlist just by how much people love and adore her, that this was already on my shelf, and it was already a guaranteed read for me. I'm just so happy that someone recommended it, because it's stunning, and I have no choice but to stand. So this is going to be a 2023 read for me. Hey guys, Editing Lisa here. I not only missed 1 but 2 books that should have been on this list. So the first book that I was recommended that I neglected to mention is Taken to Viraxia by Elizabeth Stevens. This is an alien romance. It sounds very reminiscent of Ice Planet Barbarian. So I'm going to be interested to maybe do a compare and contrast those two. And that was recommended to me in hopes that I like it. And then the last book that I neglected to mention was The Banned Bookshop of Maggie Banks, and that is by Shawn Robinson. This, I believe, is a story about a young lady who inherits a bookstore, and the bookstore focuses on trying to support banned books in a community that isn't appreciative of that. And obviously, that's something that we're dealing with quite a bit in today's society. So I'll be interested to pick that up and see how it mirrors or reflects the times we're living in. And I'm going to ask you again, leave me an emoji of the little camera. So leave me a camera emoji, leave me like a film credit emoji, anything that's related to movies, leave me that for real, and tell me what you all will be picking up as your priority read in 2023. And I'll talk to you all next time. Bye.